Hi. At the moment, interest rates are so high, so everybody's thinking, let's buy later. So, what do you need to do now, today, in order to be ready to buy in 3, 4, 5 years' time? That's what I'm going to tell you today. My name is Manda Walker, and I am a property owner, a property investor, a mortgage advisor, and the mortgage coach. I'm here today to talk about what you need to be doing. Now, the first thing I would say is understand what your finances are going to be like in 5 years' time. So, some people have a career path depending on what their career is, and they know from promotions or what. Think to yourself, okay, in 5 years' time, I want to be a manager or I want to be a director or something along those lines. How much are they earning? And then that is what you can say your predicted 5 year salary is. If you run your own business, for example, have projections, speak to your accountant and find out what you feel you'll be earning in 5 years' time. Then based on that, I've got a really great calculator where you can actually plug that in and it will tell you based on whether you want to put down a 5, 10, 15% deposit, what you will be able to afford to borrow and then how much deposit you need. And based on that, if you're planning to buy in 5 years' time, then you divide that figure by 60 and then you put aside every single month that lump sum amount. This also helps with your budget. So if your budget says that 60% isn't going to work for you, then you can stagger it. So you can actually put down less now and actually build up. And as your salary increases, you increase your deposit or the proportion of the deposit you're saving. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is actually just splitting it out and doing it on an even split. And just looking at ways and means to actually figure that out. You may decide that you can't save up a deposit right now, but when you get to a certain salary break, then you will start saving up for a deposit. But all of these calculations are really, really important so you understand how much you're going to need to save up for a deposit. The next thing to start working on right now is your credit. So when I say credit, I mean your credit report. Now, at the end of the day, when you're looking at credit, it does have a 6 year history. So you should be working on your credit from basically 6 years onwards. And things you need to look at is make sure that you have one, good credit, and two, credit in general. There's a lot of people out there that think that no credit is better than bad credit. But to be honest, they're both not very good. So what I would say is if you haven't got the best credit, then work on improving this. Find out where there have been issues and speak to credit agencies or speak to the banks and see if it can be taken off your credit report, if it was just a blip. Or just work on ways of paying off those credit cards and reducing it. Again, you need a budget. So not only will you be budgeting for a deposit, but you'll be budgeting to make sure you pay off your credit cards, loans and everything. So you're in the best financial position in 3, 4, 5 years' time, whenever you decide. And that way that will also help by looking at your budget today and figuring out all the expenses that you need to include. From there, you will actually know, will I be able to afford in 3, 4 or 5 years? So that is another great incentive. The other thing is when you're looking at all of this, your credit is very important. So if at this point you find out that you have no credit, you need to start building up your credit footprint. So this means getting a small credit card with a small balance and a small limit, and just spending 30% of it every single month, but then setting up the direct debit to pay the whole thing off. And then that way they can see that you can manage credit and you know how to deal with it. So then as you get closer to the day of buying your property, start doing property research. So there's two things you should really be looking at this point in time. One, start building up your education on how mortgages work. There are different areas of mortgages, different types of mortgages. When you're looking at rates, not only are you looking at what the percentage is, but you need to look at whether it's a fixed rate mortgage, whether it's a variable rate, whether it's a tracker. and things like that. The next thing is you need to understand that even if the deal says it's fixed for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, how much is the whole mortgage? And how long can you have your mortgage to, and how much is the cost implications of that? So understanding the terminology and the jargon is really, really important. So when you're educating yourself around mortgages, you can also educate yourself around property areas. So for us, for example, we knew we wanted to live in this area because it has really good schools. My daughter was very, very young at the time, so we knew we had time before we moved. So my husband was very good at looking at areas and looking at the history of houses. Like this house that we bought actually went on and off the market 2 or 3 times. Offers were put on it and rejected, and things didn't work out. So that gave us the ability to bargain when we were negotiating for the property price. So do your research. Also, not only look at properties and the prices that they currently are for the properties that are on sale, look at properties that aren't on sale at the moment, and then that way you get a gauge of how much the property is really worth, and then that way you can actually find out if you're getting a bargain or someone is, trying to pull the wool over your eyes and asking for more than the property is worth. So that really does make a difference. Also, you can go on the local council and you can find out information about what's going to work, what areas are up and coming, and actually look to maybe possibly purchase something a bit more before some development comes into the area, and then your property may increase as well. So do the research because you've got all this time to do it. Then about a year before, I'd continue, as I said, on maybe every 3 months, keeping an eye on your credit card and your credit report and everything. And then a year before, every month, you need to start looking at your credit. Then you need to look if you're on target when it comes, if you are running your own business, are you on target for earning the income that you said you would be? If you're in your career path, are you looking to maybe change companies to earn more money? Are you looking to see if you can get a promotion? Where are you on that target? So all of these need to kind of run in tandem. So that's the next thing to look at. And then 6 months before, really start homing down on the property searches, even start viewing properties and get an idea. And what I'd suggest you do, and this is what we did, we created a spreadsheet that had all the areas when you're going to a property, what you need to look at, and I will be doing a separate video on this. And then you can actually know when you're actually looking at properties, because we looked at quite a few properties, and after a while it does get a little bit, was it this one, was it that one? By actually having a spreadsheet with the different categories, you can go through and look and actually even take it with you on the day and actually do a tick box exercise. Okay, have we checked about central heating? Have we checked if it's got damp? Have we this? Have we that? And go through it. But as I said, there will be a separate video on that. And then you may find something that you love early, but you may not. It can take a long time to find the right property. Once you've found the right property, or even while you're looking, then look at getting a decision in principle. So this is basically the bank saying, based on your salary and your expenses, the information that you've given to us, we will lend you, for example, £250,000. Now, it doesn't mean that the property you purchase is going to be £250,000. It means they will lend you £250,000. For example, and then whatever your deposit, say it's 50,000, then you've got 300,000 on top. Now, when I say your deposit, it should only be the money used for your deposit. You should always put aside at least £5,000 for other expenses. So be that stamp duty, be it solicitor's fees, mortgage fees, and all the other fees, moving fees, anything that you can think of. If maybe you want to put aside a little bit of money if you are thinking of doing a fixer-upper, that you can need, then, some properties you can get them for a better value if they need work. If it needs a kitchen, if it needs a bathroom, or even if it just needs modernisation, new carpets, a lick of paint, that kind of thing. Some people don't really see the potential of properties, so that's why they won't actually put offers on it. But if you're willing to do that, then you could get yourself a bargain. So that's something else to look out for. And then once you've found the property, as I said, and you've got the decision in principle, when you're going around and viewing properties, having that decision in principle can be good for some estate agents. Will ask you, are you a genuine buyer? And by giving them that, it will give you more credibility when you want to put an offer in. If you've got a decision in principle against someone else who's offering the same but doesn't have one, it also gives you a bit more leverage as well. So that's the next thing to do. Once the offer has been accepted, then you go to your mortgage broker or mortgage advisor, and they will do a full mortgage application for you. That's when it's important to know about fixed, variable, whether you want a 2-year fixed, a 3-year fixed, a 5-year fixed, whether you want the whole term to be up until you're retired, which means it calculates interest on that amount, or whether you think you'll be able to pay your mortgage off in 20, 25 years. It really does depend. So knowing all of these jargons will help. The mortgage advisor should explain it all to you, but knowing it yourself also helps, because you can ask more questions and get to grips with the other areas, more technical areas, if you know the basics. Again, I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel that explain these in detail, and if there's any areas that you'd like more understanding on, then by all means put it in the comment and I will go for it. So please subscribe. As I said, I have a YouTube channel, and it would be great for you to subscribe and do the like button, because I do videos every week to talk about mortgages and money matters. So the next thing to do is the offer's been accepted, you've put in the mortgage application, and then you need to look at your documents. So it's great because you've done your credit report, that's all good. They'll look at your bank statements, pay slips, all of that. You've been making sure they're clean and everything over the last few years while you've been working on your credit, so that's not a problem. And then you get the mortgage offer. Once you get the mortgage offer, that's when the solicitor kind of gets involved. It's normally good to ask your mortgage advisor to refer solicitors. I work with a lot of solicitors myself. So depending on my clients, I always refer them to different ones who I know have better skills in different areas of mortgages, like if it's buy to let or a right to buy, or if it's just a standard residential but a first time buyer that does have a lot of questions. So it's good to have connections and have referrals for people. Then you also need to look at your survey. Which level of survey do you want? Again, I do go into detail in this in other videos, but basically you've got the standard valuation, which is just when they have a look round and they say, yeah, it matches the value you've offered, you're all good, but you don't always even get a report. So considering the hundreds of thousands you're paying, it's probably worth spending a little bit more money on a survey to find out what you are buying. And then you've got the home buyers survey, which is very popular, user friendly, and it actually has classifications, whether if there are minor things to improve, it's amber. If it's all good, it's green, and then if there are major issues, it's red, and it will go through all the categories, and it is quite user friendly. And then there's the full structural survey, which is what I've done with every single property, to be honest, that I've ever bought. And that actually does the whole property in depth. And as I said, it's sometimes worth spending that little bit extra, considering the hundreds of thousands of pounds that some properties you could be spending on some properties. So that's the next bit. Once the surveys come back and and everybody is happy with it, that's when you'd move forward with the mortgage offer, and the solicitor would then be organising, making inquiries. Inquiries are things like, is it near the environmental issues, is it near a stream, or loads of different things that the solicitor, they also look into the deeds and make sure that the person selling to you actually does own it. I know you'd be surprised, and all different things like that. So the solicitor would be able to take you to do that. And again, I'm going to get a solicitor to come onto the channel and talk you through the whole buying process, so you understand it from that point of view as well. And then once that's decided, then they decide on an exchange date. An exchange date is when you have two sets of contracts, you sign yours, the seller signs theirs, and it gets swapped or exchanged, and then you sign the second version, and so do they. But then the other thing that happens is the deposit. The deposit is then handed over to your solicitor, and your solicitor hands it over to their solicitor, and then their solicitor will hold it. And then once it comes to completion, that is when the bank will release the funds, the rest of the funds. So say for instance you put down your deposit, and then they were lending you the other, say 90%, then that 90% would go through. So basically that would go through to your solicitor, and then obviously it goes to their solicitor. Once their solicitor has it, then they go on the basis of speaking to the estate agent, and the estate agent will then release the keys, and then you're moving in, which is absolutely wonderful. So I hope I've explained everything and how it is really, really worth, in this current climate with the interest rates the way they are. Don't give up on buying at all. Just think, let's do a stepping stone. Don't think of it as a big mountain. Just think of it as tiny molehills. So as I said, my name's Manda Walker. I'm the mortgage coach. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and put in the comments any areas you'd like me to continue to talk about. And I do have a membership called Get Mortgage Ready, which does actually offer a lot of courses and videos about how mortgages work. I do coaching every other week. There's a community in there. There's the calculator that I talked about, where you can actually set what you're earning in the future and how much your deposit should be and stuff like that. That is all within the membership. So I'd love for you to be a member. I'd love for you to subscribe and support me, and thank you for your time.